Hello and welcome to the Numbers Guy program. Ron Stoffel is normally our host. However, he's going to be my guest today, and my name is Vicki, your guest host. Thank you for joining us. Ron?
Yes, Vicki.
Please tell us why you're running. Ron is actually running for school board this year, and I would like you to tell the people why you're running.
Okay. Thank you, Vicki, for taking the host position and letting me be a guest. Yes, I ran for school board in 2012, and I am running again. Our filing is going to be starting on July 29th and will end on August 12th, so we don't know how many members we're going to have running. But it is going to be 4 seats are up, 2 incumbents are not running, and 2 incumbents are. So to answer your question, that's a little bit of the introduction. I'm running to bring an alternative voice to the Robbinsdale School District. I have over 30 plus years of finance background, both in accounting, auditing, and tax work. And the school board does not have and hasn't had for more than a dozen years that I've been watching anybody on the board that actually has a finance background. So with a $200 million current budget, that means that they are spending and receiving right around $200 million every year through state, federal, and local property taxes and referendum dollars. I think they need somebody that can understand that and not just rely on the administration and the Finance Advisory Board.
That boggles my mind. I don't know how you can govern with no finance experience, but yet keep coming back to us asking us for more money. $200 million is a lot of money, and at this time they're now asking us for another $3.5 million a year. Is that correct?
Yep, there's 2 questions up for discussion and voting in November. They're looking for an early renewal of the $20 million plus inflation referendum that they currently have that will expire during the 2015-2016 fiscal year. And then they want to add a technology capital equipment levy referendum for $3.5 million per year, and both of those would be 10 years. The technology one would start next school year, so that would be the 15-16 year. And then if renewed, the $20 million per year for 10 years would then start in 2016-2017.
Okay, that brings me to 2 questions. First of all, hasn't the price of technology significantly dropped, like almost in half, as far as the laptop, iPads go that they want to purchase for these kids?
Yep, and again, they have, for the technology side of things, currently they have the 5th graders last year, so the 13-14 school year, every 5th grader had a notebook or notepad, which is the IBM version of the iPad, which they used in the classroom, took home, did their homework on. This year, my understanding is they're going to expand that to 6th and 7th grade, so they would have 5th, 6th, and 7th graders. In essence, the new 5th graders, and then the current 5th graders going in 6th grade, they already have, and then they would add 7th grade to that. But their ultimate goal is to have every student from 3rd grade through 12th grade have individual notebooks or notepads to be able to use for school. And part of, a good portion of this is to sustain that and increase that to get every student in those grades with one of those for technology.
If the people see through the folly and vote no for both questions, the first question being should they keep the current levy, and that's at $200 million, then what would we save as taxpayers?
Well, again, they, based on their information they provided to me, they would have to cut the $20 million out of the budget some way, because right now they're spending that $20 million every year. They're saying that would be the staff of 5 elementary schools. It would be about 225 teachers that they would have. The problem is they have not looked in their budget, in my opinion, and looked at where they can cut other things that they're spending above what the marketplace is. In my opinion, education is their core business. anything that isn't classroom related is auxiliary. We've already done transportation, outsource that. We have food service, we have janitorial, we have buildings and grounds, we have IT, we have clerical, we have our accounting, finance, and our office staff. All of those in other companies, if it's not their core business, you can do it cheaper out in the marketplace.
Okay. So did you say 20 million they stand to save then, or no, how much?
20 million would have to be cut from the budget, because
Okay.
if
All right,
if
that
it isn't
sounds-
passed, if the $20 million is not passed, they won't have that revenue coming in. So then they're going to have to balance the budget. They don't have enough reserves to handle that. They would have to cut out of their entire budget, which would bring them down to about $180 million rather than
Okay, that's the number I
$200
was
million
looking
right
for.
now.
Okay, so we'd save $20 million off the backs of the taxpayers. And of course, the
Right.
first thing they always do is go, we're gonna have to cut the teachers, instead of cutting the fat. And I'm sure there's plenty of fat in the budget that can be cut.
Right. And again, they're relying entirely on the administration to tell them that information. They don't have anybody asking those types of questions that has a background, as I do, auditing. I've done forensic auditing. I've gone through the books. We did this last time the referendum was up in '07 and '08. Other than transportation, none of those other services have been looked at for outsourcing. And as we well know with transportation, things in the marketplace are less expensive than in the school district currently because of their structure that they have for the employees. 80%, anywhere from 75 to 80% of the budget, so full, in essence, about 175 to 180 million dollars of the budget is people costs, salaries, wages, benefits.
Okay.
The rest of it is services.
So haven't they indicated that they've already saved money on transportation by outsourcing it? Was
They
that-
use the word savings. They put a little bit into the budget or into the reserves. Most of it they reallocated to in classroom and other expenses, IT and some other things. So they moved money that they were spending in transportation for in-house. The savings that they had from going with First Student and the other two services that they have, they reallocated to other expenses. One of them was the middle school. They brought in what they called a double dose for math and for reading for those. So they used it for additional teachers and additional EAs for that. So they really didn't save that, they reallocated it. So it's not in the transportation budget, they moved it to regular instruction.
Right, so they shuffled it around rather than, giving us a break on our property taxes.
Right. But again, they
That's what I'm
did
hearing.
take it out of transportation. That's a first step that, I applaud them for doing that. We were pushing that back in '07 and '08, and I'm glad that they did that. Under the old superintendent, they never would have. This was the new finance director and the superintendent Sicoli heard that this was a savings. They had seen this before. So, that I give them kudos for and applaud them for doing that. They just haven't gone far enough in my mind.
I agree. Okay, so tell us about your platform C, SEA, an acronym for?
Yeah, what I want to do is, the S stands for Students First. Right now, most of the decisions, and most of you people know, I go to many of the school boards. If I can't make them, I will watch them on the replays online. They put the employees and the adults first in the equation, and that's backwards in my mind. We make decisions based on what our needs are of our students, and then determine what types of employees and what types of services we need to do to meet the needs of the students. Right now, we determine what our classroom sizes are going to be, so how many teachers we need, and then how many students actually come in. You can't determine exactly how many students, but you know what those students are and what those needs are, and then we need to find out how many employees we need, what type of employees we need, so it's, in my mind, it's backwards. We need to make all decisions based on the students first. The next, we talked about a little bit, is effectiveness and efficiencies. And that goes back into looking at every program. Anything we're spending money on, we need to do, and it's going to take about a 3-year period to go through it in my mind. Every program leaders need to come back and say how much they're spending, what are the results, what would they do differently, almost a zero budgeting type thing where they come back and justify their programs, their positions, and everything. And then accountability. And on accountability, really we're looking at all the stakeholders. The students, the parents, which are in my mind are the major stakeholders. Those are the customers. They talk about the students being their customers. Without the parents involved in that, that's incorrect. It's a parent and student combination. Then you have the school, which includes your employees, the administration. Then we look at the community, because the community is funding this. Right now, of our population, we're a little over 100,000 in population. Only 20% of that population has kids in the district.
Okay.
The other 80% of it, which are paying 80% of the money, are either people who haven't had kids yet, or they have had kids and those are not in the district any longer. You've got your seniors that have already paid and those types of things. And then just the wider community in general. So those all need to be stakeholders, and we not only need to concentrate on the 20% that they do now, we need to look at the 100% of it, and the business community. They do not do a very good job, in my opinion, of engaging the business community. They do some volunteer, but they are part of it also, because in essence, what we're producing, the students, or we're going to turn into employees, workforce, they need to have an input into it, and they don't really have a a right now.
But they pay a huge amount of
They
taxes.
pay a lot of taxes too, yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And that kind of dovetails with, you say students first. Is there any more that you'd like to expand on that?
It's really looking at it, in my opinion, to say we need to engage the students, I think, more. They're starting to do that more. And we need to find out what things are working and what things aren't, and engaging the parents along with that. Students first, meaning really the customer being first, which is the parents. And they're going, in my opinion, with some of the things going on, and we've talked about this before with Common Core, and I think that's maybe a good segue into this. A lot of that is being brought in without parent approval or knowledge of it, and we need to do a better job. This is a smokescreen that's being done, and I don't even think the school districts understand it. It came in from the outside. It's a federal and a corporate takeover of the school districts via providing money, little incentive to bring it in before anybody knew anything about it at the state level and coming again down from the federal level. So it's really to empower the customer, the student, and their parent to determine what their education is going to be. We have turned it over to the experts for too long a period of time without the input of the customer, and also then the business community on the, when they're getting that, and even the colleges. There's a remunerary education going on with math and reading, with about 25% of an average high school has to go through and get up to speed to be able to get ready for college. They've got to go through extra classes to get them to the level they should have been in high school that we paid for.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, do you think schools can run efficiently? Is that possible?
Yeah, it's going to have to change the model. They're going to have to bring in more of a business model. And I know most people think that a school district or a government can't be run like a business. Technically, it can't be run exactly like a business, but you can put business principles applied. Efficiencies and effectiveness, reviewing things on a regular basis to see if they're working and not working, and also having benchmarks for them to know if they are or not, so they have goals to see if they're working or not. And that's got to be done on the front end, not on the back end, because that's not fair to the people that are working there if they find out what their goals are after they've already implemented. That has to be part of the planning process. So yeah, it can be, but you have to think outside the box of what I consider to be the norm that has been for the last 50 years. You can do things out in the marketplace that are as efficient, as effective, or more so, more cost effective without affecting anything inside the school with the core business of education. They just don't want to look outside that because, in my opinion, they're too tied into the status quo, which includes unionization of all employees. That doesn't work any longer. Look at Detroit. It did bankrupt them.
And I want to say, you know, they just get automatic raises due to the union membership and so forth. So they don't even have to take any kind of testing or prove their value.
Right.